Okay, it's 1:05, so I think we can start with today virtual pub. And today the presenter is Salim C. Mohamed, who is currently assistant professor at University Claude Bernard in Lyon in medical imaging. He's a practicing radiologist working in the imaging department of the cardiovascular and thoracic Louis Pradel Hospital in Lyon. He is specialized in diagnostic and interventional imaging of cardiovascular and chest diseases, working mainly with CT technology. His experimental research focuses on the development of spectral photon counting CT and dual energy CT systems in combination with the use of novel contrast agents for cardiovascular and thoracic imaging application.
Okay, thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you all, and also the European Bioimaging to invite me to discuss and to share our experience with respect to spectral photocounting CT technology. So I guess it's good morning for everyone, or for European audience. So the presentation is focusing first on some basic principles of photocounting CT technology. We are going to talk about the key features that could maybe bring important potential benefits for application and to go beyond the current CT limitation. So I am one of the members of the photocounting CT H2020 project. It's in European Union grant. That started in 2016 and that is going to finish end this year. So I'm working under the supervision of Professor Philippe Douek and Loïc Bossel, and I don't have any conflict of interest regarding the presentation today. So first, before starting on the principles and on the technology, first I want to thank and also to salute, so say hello to all the collaborators and the strong collaboration and fruitful collaboration that we have in this H2020, gathering a lot of academic partners, but not only. And it's important to notice that Philips Industry is partner of this H2020. And as we can see here, we are in 2017. And we are taking a picture just in front of a city, and this is really important for the development of this technology right now. And let's say that in 5 or 6 years, there have been a really important development of this technology with different constructors. So this H2020, well, it is partners around the European Union, but the photocounting city, the system is located in the city called Lyon, where I'm working. It's a beautiful Lyon, so I'm inviting all of the audience to come and to visit the CERMEP facility here. So basically, I'm working in this hospital for clinical imaging, and I just need to cross the street and to go here in this platform. It's a research platform where there are a lot of systems. So it's a CERMEP platform where you can find the photocounting CT for preclinical and clinical imaging. Okay, so the principle of photocounting CT technology. So first, as an introduction, everybody agrees that since discoveries in the X-rays have been playing a critical role in medical imaging for a disease and organ delineations. First, they provide two-dimensional images. And now they can provide with multi-slice computed tomography, three-dimensional images of the linear attenuation coefficient distribution within the patient, which can accurately delineate the organs and the tissue. are first the lack of spatial resolution. The current CT technology, although the different tissue type can have the similar attenuation value. For example, let's take the intravascular iodinated contrast agent and the calcification within the coronary arteries. The third limitation, and we'll see that photocounting CT may overcome this limitation. The first is the absence of absolute quantification of contrast material or tissue within the body because of the difficulty and because of the underlying tissue, which is also visualized on conventional imaging. Finally, and this is really important, last but not the least, the lack of specific contrast agent and of the crux of this ACE 2020, which was to consider new contrast agent and develop them and translate into a clinical, preclinical, and clinical application. So I talk about four major limitations, and honestly, they are related in part or made worse by the energy integrated detectors. These detectors here, visualized here. Can you see the mouse, Giuseppe?
Yes. We can see the pointer. Sorry, I forgot to announce that this presentation will be recorded, and that's my fault. I forgot to announce that at the beginning. So please, Salim, go ahead.
Okay, so these detectors, I was saying that they are part of the problem. They are, in fact, summing all the incident X-ray photons, and thus they are losing the energy-dependent information, which at the end is resulting in a grayscale pixel value images, which is proportional to the total attenuation of the sample. This is a grayscale, the famous Hounsfield unit grayscale. So to begin to exploit, and we'll see later on, the spectral detection, there is Sir Hounsfield in 1973 that first demonstrated using two X-rays sources, such as what is used in clinical imaging, which we call the dual energy system. They demonstrated the possibility to characterize different contrast or different material tissue based on their different attenuation at low and high energy. And this is an important change in the clinical imaging or preclinical imaging with the introduction of dual energy system, but still limited to basis function, and also still limited by these energy integrating detectors. So these energy integrating detectors in the photocounting CT have been replaced by the new detectors called the photocounting detectors. We'll see later on that they allow direct conversion the X-ray photons into an electric pulse, which is really, really important in terms of efficiency, for example, noise efficiency, or other advantage that we are going to talk about. So they have been introduced lately in the field of CT technology. And first, one of the main advantages is to allow much higher spatial resolution than the energy integrated detectors, such as this has been demonstrated in this study, where we characterized a full large field of view prototype photocounting CT. We characterize the modulation transfer function, and as one can see, the cutoff of this MTF reaches above 30 line per centimeters, which is around a size object of 170 microns. So this is holding great promises in terms of spatial resolution, considering the 600 microns spatial resolution with a conventional CT. So the key features, with this technical benefit is improved spatial resolution and also reduction of some artifacts such as the beam hardening or also such as the blooming artifact that can be related to the lack of spatial resolution. But the main breakthrough of this photocounting CT technology is represented by the energy discrimination capabilities of these detectors that can resolve the energy of each photons and count them into different energy bins, such as illustrated on this figure, with at least here, with on this figure, there are 4 here energy bins that are gathering different photons with similar or close energies. And these multiple energy windows will allow to sample in a better way than dual energy CT systems the transmitted spectra into multiple energy bins. And this will also allow the identification of some special effects, such as the cage effect. One can see here in this transmitted spectrum a very sharp increase of photons, which energy related to the cage effect. We'll see later on that the cage effect is one of the key features of the photocounting CT. Physically, the cage effect is represented the energy binding of the inner electron to the atom. So it's the innermost shell of the atom. So what does it mean? It means, and it's a really breakthrough, it means that photocounting CT may be able to do a specific imaging, such as, for example, PET imaging, but without a radionuclide, with a very strong or very heavy, we'll see later on, heavy atom contrast material. So how does it work? So I said that contrary to the scintillators or the energy integrated detectors, which are performing an indirect conversion between the photons and the electric signal, the photocounting CT allow direct conversion. This direct conversion allow different technical benefits. The one really important that is playing a critical role for spatial resolution is that these photocounting detectors do not need the implementation of what we can see here, the interceptal gaps that are mandatory in energy integrated detectors. And this absence of interceptal gaps will allow a much smaller size of the pixel and ending, and as a result will end with a higher spatial resolution. The second key feature of, or let's say the architectural characteristic of the photocounting detector is that they are significantly smaller than the energy integrated detectors because of the need. One of the need is to decrease the concentration of photons within the pixel size, and that will end with 0.25 or even lower pixel size detectors, which is playing critical role, as I say, for spatial resolution. The second aspect of the photocounting detectors, as I say, is that they allow by the direct conversion of the photons to discriminate the energy of the photon, of each photon, then to classify this energy into different counters, and to gathering all the photons from one energy into energy spectrum, into energy bins. These energy bins can be also depicted or illustrated as this on these images, on this schematic, and one can see on this schematic the different bins from the lower bin to the higher bins and the registration of the energy of each photon. And one can see here the importance of this registration demonstration that once more time one cannot be achieved by the energy integrated detector. So what is important here is that some of the signal have been recorded lower, with an energy lower than the first bin, corresponding to the electronic noise. And with these features, the photocounting detector can also allow to suppress, or at least not take into account the signal, the low energy signal from the electronic noise, which will play also a critical role in medical imaging for reducing the electronic noise, but also for improving the contrast to noise ratio and the contrast of CT images. And at the end also, and it's important for clinical imaging, it's the possibility to reduce significantly the X-ray radiation and the contrast agent also concentration. But to keep on the different benefits of the photocounting technology is also one important, and this is really also a breakthrough into the CT technology, is the possibility, as we said earlier, to use a contrast agent and to use his cage in order to perform cage imaging, which will allow a specific and quantitative imaging. So to be detectable in clinical imaging, and this is a limitation for the iodine, to be detectable in clinical imaging, the effect of the cage imaging has to be in the energy range of the diagnostic X-ray between 40 and 140 keV. And unfortunately, as one can see here, the iodine is not a good candidate. It's unfortunate because iodine is the popular contrast agent, commonly used contrast agent. However, that doesn't exclude from the use of other atoms, such as gold, gadolinium, ytterbium, or other high heavy atoms. And this also is saying that finally new contrast agent for photocounting CT should be designed and also validated for cage imaging, with, of course, the use of atom with high atomic number, such as the one on this graph. So to keep on the cage imaging, one should understand that cage imaging is allowing by the different sampling of the overall attenuation by the different energy bins. In these two graphs, one can see the gadolinium cage effect around 50.2, and the gadolinium and also the gold, which is higher than the gadolinium. Here, what is representing is a different threshold of the energy bins. By setting different threshold optimized for each cage, it is possible, we'll see that, to reconstruct the specific image, such as here on this phantom study. Here on the first line, there is a phantom with a different contrast, with different tubes within tubes, filled with iodine and gadolinium. So they are here tubes mixed with iodine and gadolinium. So on conventional image, it is unlikely to differentiate those two contrast agents. The different tubes have similar attenuation, and by doing a material decomposition between the three material bases, water, iodine, and gadolinium, in this setup, it was possible to reconstruct specifically the gadolinium contrast agent and to separate from the contrast agent. As one can see here, that we mixed the different contrast agent differently, with clockwise increase of iodine and opposite increase of gadolinium. which is really noticeable thanks to the gadolinium and thanks to the KG image here. One of note that the iodine image here are reconstructed with two bases, material basis, with a material decomposition technique such as performed in dual energy system. The only difference in this experiment compared to dual energy system, of course, is the cage imaging. Which is the third basis in this experiment. While on the second line, one can see that we mixed two cage contrast agents, the gadolinium and the gold contrast agent. As the first line, we mixed it with opposite concentration, and one can see clearly with 4 basis material decomposition, which was water, iodine, gadolinium, and gold. The cage capabilities of photocontincity could differentiate their concentration. The water image here is image of the water distribution within the samples, and it was really what we expected in terms of distribution within the plastic phantom and also within the tubes which were filled with PBS. So this was the qualitative capabilities of cage imaging, but it's not the only interest for cage imaging. It's also the quantitative imaging that can resolve the problem of absolute quantification that is facing current CT technology. One can see here 2 graphs of the quantification of the contrast agent within the previous tubes, and in phantom imaging, the accuracy was very high for the iodine tubes in purple, and also for gadolinium tubes in green, while for the 2 cage imaging, there was a little underestimation of the concentration, but still with a very high accuracy, which is mainly explained by the overall noise in the images, which is brought mainly by the use of 2 cage in the reconstruction process. So at the end, altogether, the key features for the photocontincity in terms of contrast media, in terms of tissue characterization, will be the detection of a new contrast agent developed for specificity imaging, mainly based on heavy atom. But not only, also, to do that to benefit from the cage imaging, and we'll see that it may be important to maybe helpful for improving the sensitivity and the specificity of the contrast detection, but also to differentiate different agents in the same tubes or in the same organs, as we can see later on, either between iodinated contrast agent and other cage contrast agent, or also between 2 different cage agents, which is more tricky in terms of performances. So potential application, and this is opening, all these key features are opening a wide window or a wide possibility to the clinical application. And one of the main application, and this is because of my background, is of course the cardiovascular disease that everybody knows is concerning a lot of people around the world, because yes, a lot of people around the world, and it's main cause in developed countries of morbidity and mortality. So in terms of cardiovascular disease and taking benefit from the high resolution capabilities, the photocontincity allow the better depiction of the stents within the coronary arteries compared to conventional CT. So here, one can see a stent that has been implemented in a tube and has been scanned with 2 different conventional EED scanners compared to the photocounting CT scanner. These stents, on the first row, there is no calcification, while on the second one, there is a calcification, which is really what we can see on clinical imaging on patients. Oftenly, there is a calcification, and the stent is pushing away the calcification, or can be pushed, of course, by the calcification, as one can see on the photocounting. While for the conventional CT, it was hardly to see. It was, in fact, impossible to diagnose this. So this is important for patient care, and this has been confirmed in vivo within a rabbit. So this is a rabbit aortic angiography with the zoom in of the aortic of the aorta. So we implemented a stent in this aorta and a scan with a conventional CT and a photocounting CT. And as one can see, we can clearly see the stent architecture, the struts of the stent, and also, and it is really important to see into the stent, which is the lumen, compared to the conventional CT. Here, to note that this stent is a coronary stent. It's a coronary stent that has been implemented in the aorta. So first, the stent for cardiovascular disease, but there is also the improvement in terms of visualization of the lumen. So here it's phantom study. It's simulating coronary arteries without calcification and with calcification around. And one can see with the conventional CT the blur images, which is arising mainly from the blooming artifact in the calcification, which is less more visualized on the photocounting CT. So there is room for improvement of the lumen coronary arteries visualization, such as has been demonstrated in this study on the first human volunteer scan with this large field of view CT system. Here, this is a really nice image of stenosis of the vertebral artery stenosis, with a lumen size measure at 0.69 millimeters. So it's really for radiologists really need to be able to assess this stenosis. In cardiovascular disease, also calcification are important, and they are a challenge in terms of visualization, in terms of depiction, especially for the low contrast and the small size calcification, which can be found into patient that has been considered with low cardiovascular risk. So calcification for computed tomography and coronary risk factor assessment is important. That's why we conducted a study to compare the performances between conventional CT technology and photocounting. And as one can see on this phantom that is gathering 100 calcification with different contrast, one can see that this photocounting is achieving a lot more visualization. It's allowing a lot more visualization of the calcification. On this graph, one can see that the calcification in red are not visualized with systems, while for the yellow only photocounting CT system allow to see the calcification, and the green calcification are the one visualized with both CT systems. So the key message here is a higher depiction of calcification, which is really important for cardiovascular risk stratification. Besides the conventional images, there is room also for CAG-IMAGE, and this is the first proof of concept in a human ex vivo heart, where we injected the gadolinium contrast agent. So it is a standard gadolinated contrast agent that we injected in the arteries, coronary arteries, and we acquire the whole coronary trees, and we reconstructed the KH image of the gadolinium. So the hypothesis was to have a higher assessment of the lumen measurement in presence of calcification than on conventional CT images. And this proof of concept may show us a very important improvement in the lumen visualization, especially here with this calcification that is somehow limiting the visualization of the lumen, while for KH imaging, in the quantitative analysis, we could see a lumen little bit taller, I mean, not taller, but with a size higher than what we find on conventional images, which was mainly explained by the specificity of the KH images. But this is first proof of concept, and let's say that doing on human right now may be controversial, or at least should be discussed before translation to human imaging to use this KH imaging. Second, and this is also in cardiovascular disease, what could be interesting also is to use the KH capabilities for assessing the myocardial infarction. For example, here it's myocardial infarction, acute myocardial infarction into a rabbit, and one can see here the conventional image and the KH image of the gadolinium. So we injected gadolinated contrast agent after 2 hours of reperfusion occluded coronary arteries, and one can see here the high enhancement on the KH images that was quantified with high concentration of gadolinium to show the myocardial infarction. So this is experimental on animals, but can be really important in terms of quantification of the infarct zone and quantification of the extracellular volume, which is a prognostic and diagnostic marker in clinical imaging. So still in cardiovascular disease, and this is some aspect of the photocounting CT that are clearly promising and clearly different from the conventional CT technology, which is the interest for the molecular imaging. In this study, here one can see an illustration of the atherosclerotic plaque, which is a burden of different cells, such as macrophage around the lipid core, but not only, also inflammatory cells, and also other components, also calcification, as one can see here. And in clinical imaging, there is a strong limitation with conventional CT to assess this burden, which is known to be predictive of plaque rupture. So for this study, we hypothesized that targeting the macrophage with a contrast with the KH contrast agent should allow or may allow a better quantification of the macrophage burden, especially for the differentiation between calcification, but not only, also between lipid core and the carriage material presence. So before showing the result of this study, let me explain you why we use especially the gold nanoparticles in this study. It is because gold is a very good candidate for the KH imaging. It is also because gold nanoparticles are used in plethora medical application, and also because some of the gold nanoparticles may allow the blood pool imaging the first day after injection, and then macrophage uptake. And in this study, here I'm showing the result of a study that we conducted with gold nanoparticles. So these gold nanoparticles were injected into rabbit, an LSC rabbit, and we evaluated the biodistribution within the time in the rabbit. And what was really surprising and very interesting is the very high visualization and specificity of the cage imaging, the high visualization of a signal arising from the gold cage imaging in some different organs of the mononuclear phagocytic system, in particular the bone marrow here. That was really highlighting the interest for cage imaging, because here on the HU images, it's really impossible to detect any strong signal within the bone marrow, because mainly of the bone surrounding the bone marrow. So bringing cage to this study was very important, and we could also quantify. The first comparison with histology demonstrated very uptake and a high uptake of the gold nanoparticles, confirming so in favor of our imaging. But this is not the only interest for cage imaging, because there is also quantification capabilities that has been here compared to the ICP on the ex vivo organs. And one can see here different organs of interest with the spleen, the lymph node, the bone marrow, and the liver, which are the organs of the mononuclear phagocytic system with very high concentration. And one can see here that the accuracy was strong, with a little bit of underestimation of the concentration, but still it's really important to, and it's really, I mean, I think it's really a good, very, very important result for translation to different applications, such as we'll see later on, the macrophage burden quantification. So, which is this slide, in fact. So this is the next study that we conducted after demonstrating the high accuracy of concentration of gold with cage in vivo. So in this study, we evaluate the concentration of gold within the atherosclerotic plaque. So these are model of atherosclerotic rabbit models. And in this study, we injected the gold nanoparticles and follows the rabbits at several time points. Here I'm showing the 2 days time points, which was the one with the higher concentration of gold within the atherosclerotic plaque. I'm showing here two atherosclerotic plaques. The first one is non-calcified, while the second one is calcified. And this is really important in terms of key messages of this study. Is that on the first one, we could see a strong enhancement, a strong uptake of gold within the macrophages of the atherosclerotic plaque. And this strong enhancement was correlated and very well correlated to the area of macrophage measured on immunohistochemistry. Sorry. Here is the round dot is representing the comparison between the area of macrophage and the mean wall gold concentration. One can see that in presence of non-calcified atherosclerotic plaque, the correlation is accurate either on gold cage imaging or on unsweet unit conventional image. However, and this is the main limitation in the study of conventional imaging, is within the presence of calcification in the parietal wall, such as for this atherosclerotic plaque, where very small concentration of gold was quantified, while in the conventional image, the attenuation was very high, as one can see on the graph, because of the presence of calcification. This is important. So here, it's really highlighting the interest for KH imaging. So the square dot is here with a very low concentration of macrophages and concentration, while here the attenuation is very high, rising the 100 Hz units, which is very important. So there is really important interest for this KH imaging for achieving the molecular imaging, and to put into light the different studies and the different potential application of photocounting CT. I'm here showing an illustration, a figure found in a recent recommendation or recent update of the European Cardiovascular Imaging Society, and where SPCT could in fact be one of the modality, one of the good candidates for validating or to see for seeing the macro calcification, as we saw earlier, also to better delineate and better see the plaque, the coronary plaque, for example. So mainly also by the visualization of the positive remodeling, but not only, also by visualization of some component of the plaque, such as the large necrotic core, which is in low attenuation component of the plaque, and also such as the last study presented in here is the interest for the inflammation. So altogether, SPCT may be a good candidate for comprehensive assessment of coronary artery disease. But let's keep on with other clinical and preclinical application. And based on the different benefits of the technology, let me introduce you the interest for the lung imaging. So lung imaging, and here for lung nodule imaging, is important for of course lung cancer screening. And one of the challenge of current CT technology is the imaging of low contrast nodules, such as the ground glass nodules. And here one can see with the conventional CT and a photocounting CT the comparison between lung nodules within a phantom, within an anthropomorphic phantom, the difference in terms of depiction of the ground glass. Here one can see the 4 mm, and here 2 mm ground glass nodules that is hardly depictable on conventional CTs, while for photocounting CT the ground glass is more depictable. So one interest here is to demonstrate the higher contrast and higher depiction that is mainly explained by first the contrast resolution and also the spatial resolution. One more proof of the interest will be here a comparison for quantification of the volume of a nodule. So this is a nodule print, and here is the illustration of the 3D print. This nodule has been scanned on different CT, and the photocounting CT has been showed higher accuracy for volume quantification than the conventional and high resolution CT scanning. After this first let's say phantom imaging, I'm showing here a recent study on a human volunteer for lung imaging, where there is a clear where there is a comparison between the conventional CT and a photocounting CT. In this study, what is interesting is the ability for photocounting CT to reconstruct a thinner slice thickness than conventional CT, also to reconstruct with higher matrix size, such as 1024 compared to the 512 used commonly on conventional CT, but also the interest for imaging the lung with less radiation dose. Here there is a reduction about 30% of the dose, the radiation dose, while for the imaging there is a clear improvement of the bronchial wall. Here also the small structure in the lung that are really important in terms of diagnosing and also in terms of following disease, such as, of course, the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So in terms of lung application, there is also room for the KG imaging, and the KG imaging here in this first proof of concept demonstrated an interest for the lung perfusion imaging. So we know that with commonly contrast agents such as iodinated and gadolinated contrast agent, the visualization of the first pass in the lung is a surrogate marker of lung perfusion. In this study, we injected a rabbit with a high concentrated gadolinated contrast agent designed by the Torino University, and we proceed to the KG imaging of the lung and quantify the enhancement within the lung. Here it's maybe it could be in the future translate to human after some precaution, I mean, but or after some change into the use of contrast agent. But on lung, so we saw that lung without contrast agent and with contrast imaging, there is a larger room of use of this clinic photocounting technology. There is also room in the oncologic disease, and one can see here on a rat the interest for looking at the abdominal and pelvic regions, for example, for looking at the peritoneal metastasis. So this study is comparing the performances in terms of visualization of structures between the photocounting and between the conventional CT. In this study, we injected two contrast agents. We injected a contrast agent into the blood and a contrast agent into the peritoneal cavity in order to use the bicolor capability imaging brought by the KG imaging. Here, I'm not showing the contrast agent imaging. I'm more showing the conventional images, and I'm showing the benefit of the improved spatial resolution when it comes to compare the small arteries here, when it comes to compare here the ureteral or the urinary system, or when it comes to compare the bowel here and also the pouch of Douglas. All of these structures are really important to visualize in clinical imaging for diagnosing the peritoneal metastasis. So after this first proof of principle on healthy rat, we proceed to the experiment on disease model. So disease rat model of peritoneal metastasis, colorectal peritoneal metastasis, and the visualization of the peritoneal metastasis was achieved thanks to the spatial resolution, such as here, but also thanks to the contrast resolution. So here one can see on the green the cage. So it's an overlay of the cage imaging of the gadolinium, and the purple is the iodine. In these images, the iodine was injected into the peritoneal cavity, while for gadolinium was injected into the blood. So here it's a correlation with ex vivo animal, and this study demonstrated diagnostic performances in preclinical imaging much greater than what was published with conventional CT. So there is room for oncologic and not only peritoneal metastasis, also for here, for example, for differentiating the iodine field lumen from the gadolinium tag polyps. So this is examination in clinical routine that can be done on human. It's called colonography, CT colonography. And using these two contrast agents, iodine and gadolinium, there is room to see specifically the gadolinium here, which is which enhanced the polyp, which is a tumor-like tissue that should be deleted or should be erased from the patient. And this interest was here to differentiate from another strong attenuated tissue, such as an enhanced polyp, or such as such as the feces also, and such as the iodine into the lumen. Here one can see the visualization of the iodine content on the iodine image, while here gadolinium polyp enhance is specifically seen. So for colonography, there is room. Not only, there is also room for allowing the visualization of the liver. So let's say that this study, the proof of principle, was targeted on the feasibility to show the bicolor imaging within the liver. The application behind this is hepatocellular carcinoma. So hepatocellular carcinoma is a liver tumor that is being characterized by a strong arterial enhancement and by the washout during the portal phase, which is later phase than arterial. And in this, so commonly for patients, we are acquiring an arterial phase and also a portal phase. So that means two X-ray exposition of the patient. In this study, we injected the contrast agent, the gadolinium and the iodine, with a different time. We injected first the iodine and then the gadolinium, and we decided to acquire at one time the liver in order to see the distribution of each contrast agent, the specific distribution of each contrast agent. And this specific distribution was for the gadolinium into the arterial compartment, while for the iodine, it was into the liver compartment. This is explained by the expected distribution and the also non-vascularization of the liver that is mainly perfused by the portal compartment. So in this study, with one shot, one acquisition, we could see two compartments, which may allow the visualization of the hepatocellular carcinoma with gadolinium on the arterial phase and with iodine on the portal phase. The quantitative analysis demonstrate on the conventional images the absence of discrimination of each compartment. Indeed, the aorta, which is the arterial compartment, or the hepatic artery, were very strong enhanced, such as the liver and the portal vein, while for the contrast material maps, there were a clear differentiation between concentration of gadolinium within the aorta, the hepatic artery, and the liver and the portal vein. So this is in favor of doing what we can call a bicolor imaging, a simultaneous bicolor imaging of two compartments. Okay, so now one other clinical application that can be benefit from the photocounting CT. This is the bone imaging. So bone imaging, so bone is a high contrast tissue, but they are also soft or low contrast tissues such as the cartilage. And in this work, there is a comparison between the conventional CT and the photocounting CT, and one can see a better depiction of the cartilage. Here it's a cartilage of a healthy patient. So these are knee, ex vivo knees, and they are demonstrated the interest for photocounting CT here on this slide, and here on this slide for LC and for arthrosis knee compared to other CT. There are also work a lot going on regarding the crystal arthropathy, and this is a very nice work from the Mars imaging. So they are using a photocounting detector different from the one we used in the European Union project, and this photocounting CT has different technical characteristics which they allow high differentiation of some material tissue within the knee in ex vivo knee, with visualization of the component of the CPP, the MSU, and the hydroxyapatite. Here there is imaging of the hydroxyapatite. Here the CPP. And what is interesting here is that they are showing without the use of contrast agent differentiation of low contrast material within a tissue. They're still limited, however, by the field of view and also by the capabilities for dynamic imaging. Next step for computed tomography will be the cell tracking capabilities or the cell tracking feasibility of photocounting CT. And this study under the framework of the EDGE 2020 is showing the interest of cage imaging to track, to follow the distribution within a mouse and within a rat, to track the distribution of gold nanoparticles labeled therapeutic cells that can be used for brain damage, brain damage or a stroke. And here in this study, they have demonstrated that not only there is a clear visualization of the gold labeled therapeutic cells, but also there is interest for quantification in comparison to synchrotron. So clearly, it's what could expect in the future and the present for practical imaging, but maybe in the future for clinical imaging, to be able to track the cell therapy strategy. I'll talk about steady imaging, but now here I'm showing some results with the dynamic imaging, and here is interest. So here it's a demonstration of the cage imaging with a high count rate scanner. So this was the first proof of principle showing in 2016 the feasibility of repetitive repetitive imaging of the cage. Here in this healthy rabbit, one can see on the conventional images all the underlying tissue with contrast agent also, such as the blood with the gold nanoparticles, while for gold cage imaging, there is a clear specificity of the gold distribution within the lung for perfusion imaging, as we already talked about, but also for enhancement angiography within the cardiac cavities. Okay, so all of this proof in the phantom imaging or in the preclinical and clinical imaging are clearly opening a large window of clinical and preclinical application. And I hope that I succeed to show you from the principle, the technical characteristic to the application, the large promises that photocounting is holding. But there is still need for further improvement, and this is really important to consider, and that's why there is need also for for very very ambitious projects such as the H2020 in the detector performance. So it's mainly the detector chain, the technology, but also the reconstruction techniques, which could be also the image chain, also the denoising, which is important in terms of contrast to noise ratio and ability for cage imaging to see a contrast agent with low sensitivity. And also really important, this aspect, which is clearly specific of photocounting, is contrast agent development. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would like also to draw your attention that I showed clinical application, but some clinical application, but a lot could be also discovered and developed during this next few or 10, 20 anyway years. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Salim, for your very comprehensive view about photon counting CT and the new world of application that is coming.